How you doing, everybody? Back with another video today. On this Sunday afternoon, after a crazy wedding yesterday, Sarah and I were on a 9-hour wedding. Most of our weddings booked are for 8 hours. That's a full coverage booking with us. But this couple wanted us for 9. And so it was a wild wedding last night. If you guys want to see a couple of the images from them, just go to our Facebook page, Facebook, the Monochrome Memoirs, or my Instagram, the Monochrome Memoirs, and you could see some of the sample shots, sneak peeks that we posted from last night. But yeah, it was a wild wedding. They wanted us for 9 hours. The wedding party was 12 and 12 on each side. So, I mean, there's 24 people. And then, the bride and the groom, so 26 people to pose for family formals or, bridal formals. And it was just an absolute crazy wedding. It was a lot of fun, but it was nuts. We had to go off-site from the church for the formals before we got to the reception. So it was like right after the ceremony, we had to wrangle everybody up after they did a receiving line, and then we had to get everybody in the limos, go to this spot to take formals. That was like 20 minutes away, and then 20 minutes away from that was the reception. So it was nuts. Sarah and I got it done though, but it was definitely challenging. It was one of the biggest challenges, and me working that wedding yesterday kind of brought up the idea for this video that I wanted to talk about. And that is why when you're choosing a lens setup, and choosing which lenses that you want, it's the best thing to think about autofocus first. Autofocus should be, in my opinion, the most important element when you're thinking about a lens and how it performs with it in the real world. I mean, not just a stupid, YouTube product photography where they just take a model in the perfect light in the perfect situation and then just I can't stand the photography review channels when they review a lens and they do a focus test of like something sitting on a table and then like the background of it, and just go from the table, like they put a cup on the table and they focus on it and they go to the background. Oh, it's really fast and snappy. Yeah, okay, take that to a real job where there's lights changing every 5 minutes. You got 50 people running around everywhere, people standing at different depths of field, there's friggin' leaves in people's faces, or there's trees in the background, and that's a real test in my opinion. I don't even watch the ones that just test with like stupid stuff in a studio or even like really controlled environments, because as any pro knows, you don't even have to be doing a wedding, but any paid job that you're doing, unless you're in a studio where you're completely controlling the light and controlling everything that's going on, you're out of control of a lot of situations, and you got to make the best of it as you work. So the first thing, in my opinion, especially if you're doing weddings or shooting people, is you need to think about autofocus. The main thing is your speed of work. Okay? When you guys, I know there's a lot of new people here that are just getting into weddings. When you guys really start working with people at weddings, and if the weddings get dynamic and different, and there's huge wedding parties and different locations that are challenging, the lights running out, or you have too much light, or just the things that change on a second to second basis at weddings or events, there's so many. And so you need to make sure that your lens is working with your camera body in the best way that it's going to snap to focus and it's going to find focus extremely quickly. Because the thing is, guys, is you do not want to be worried about your autofocus. That is the last thing that you want on a job, because obviously, like, the nightmare scenario is you have shots, you do some shots, you go home, you download them, and they're out of focus. I mean, or the perfect shot that you got on the dance floor, or the perfect formal where the only one that you got where the 30 people in the picture, nobody was blinking and everyone was smiling, that shot is out of focus. Like, you cannot worry about that stuff. That is basic workflow mechanics of photography, the stuff that should just be out of the way. So a lot of good lenses have or there's not a lot, but there's some good lenses that have shittier autofocus that take a while to hunt. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I'm starting to get really in love with the S line of lenses, because I use the Z cameras and they just freaking work with the Z cameras. Everything snaps to focus so fast. Low light, blown out highlight, or crazy highlights shooting into the sun. I haven't had any problems so far with the 35 and the 50. Everything has been flawless in terms of autofocusing. It works really fast and it's reliable and it's sharp. I don't have to worry about it. The 58 1.4, awesome lens, great, works well with the adapter on the Z body, but it doesn't. There's definitely a difference in autofocus time between the 50 1.8s. So that's why one of the reasons why I'm moving to it. The 58 is going to stay in the bag, but I mean, the 50 is feeling like my choice now, because the main thing is how well it works with the body and how fast the autofocus is. It gets everything out of my mind so I can focus on the scenario and what's going on. There's a lot of lenses out there, guys, that have crazy character and can create like interesting images, 100%, and I support those lenses. I just did a Dream Lens series on 2 episodes on the 58 and the Helios 85. Those are great lenses. But I'm talking about like your go-to lenses, the ones that you create with 99% of the time. Like I've said a million times before, I use a two prime lens combo on the weddings. It's either the 24 in the 50 or the 35 in the 85. Me and my wife switch up between which combos that we want to use. But those are our 2 lenses that we go to. Those are the ones that are on my body all the time. I have a black rapid strap right here, and I have a neck strap right here with one body. And I'm just picking up 2 cameras, and I'm just going all day long. Every once in a while, we have to use a 70-200 or something like that, but those are the 2 main lenses. And I choose those because of the reliability, first off. The reliability of knowing that I can get the shot, that when it's focused on something, even if it's further away, I know it's in focus, it's not going to miss. I know that when I'm posing my couples, it's an uncomfortable pose. Like, perfect example, yesterday, the spot that we went to after the ceremony to take the family formals, there was mosquitoes everywhere. It was a beautiful spot, but there was mosquitoes all over the place. What are you going to do, guys, if you're the lens that you're using is just hunting back and forth? You have the best shot, you have the coolest light, everything is like kind of perfect right now, but there's freaking bugs everywhere, and the couple's just standing there aggravated, and you're trying to, the lens is hunting back and forth trying to focus. What are you going to do? You're gonna piss them off. You're probably gonna lose the shot. And who knows if it's gonna be in focus when you get home and download the images. That's what I'm saying. Like, the mechanics of your workflow should be the number one buying decision. That should be first. And then the image output, the character of the lens, the quality of the bokeh, all that stuff should be secondary. Guys, when I first started in photography, I shot everything. I bought a little, my first digital camera was a D3000, and it was just, had a little kit lens, and I just brought that thing everywhere, and it was all, just, kit lens size. I spent like $300 on it or something like that, and I shot some of my best images, like still stuff that I repost on my Instagram every once in a while, like that was shot with that old camera, because it wasn't about the crazy bokeh or the fall off or like how sharp it was. Although those kit lenses are actually pretty sharp, but the idea is you can create. The reason why I'm saying this is you can create great images with just very basic things. You don't need like this beautiful background blur or this unbelievable sharpness all over the place. Those things are nice to have, and they're cool, and they're an absolute selling point in certain things. But what I'm saying is they're not necessary to make great images if you're a good photographer and if you've studied the craft and you've really been passionate about learning and you have a good eye. Those things, like, I could take a D3200 to a wedding and I could create some amazing images with it. I could. I just know that, because I know that the quality of the light, the way that I pose my couples, the feeling and connection between them, the right moment, being intently aware of what's going on and catching the right moment at the right time and being in the right place for the right time, knowing what to look for and seeing situations as they're about to develop and then getting into the place to shoot that. Those are the things that are most important to making a great image. It's not like because you have a 1.4 lens and it's going to blow out the background so perfectly and all of a sudden you're just going to be amazing at making photos. It's not how it works. Like, so what I'm saying is go for reliability first when choosing a lens and functionality, and then once you have that in place, then you can start to look at the secondary levels of like, okay, well, you know, what's the background look like, or, you know, what's the sharpness all around, or like, you know, those other things that go into, and you know, how different is the quality of the picture, you know what I mean? Because every lens has its own quality. It's like a personality, basically. But like I said, I think that people want to go for image output first, and then, you know, they sacrifice functionality more. So I just think that everyone needs to think about stuff like that, especially the pros and the new people getting out to weddings. Think about that before you start to go out and just buy things because they have a beautiful background blur or bokeh or something like that. You guys should be able to trust your shots. You should be able to trust the focus, and you know it's going to nail it every single time. If the camera says it's focused on it, you don't even have to zoom in, you know. Like,